Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic Live. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. Excited to be with you and excited to share this news with you. So many of you have long wondered, well, what the heck actually went on in 2020? I mean, we know things went on, but it's like, what exactly in all cases went on? And we're closer to finding that out. There was a huge piece of news that dropped today. I'm going to get into that here. Do have a guest joining me as well, who is at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, sitting just a few chairs away from Elon. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that because it's one of the great stories of our day also. So please smash that like, do chat in with where you're from. And let's get right into this news. This is big. So exclusive New Jersey man. This is Yehuda Miller. If you haven't followed him on X, he's a great follow. He has secured nearly 1 million. That's right. 1 million documents from Detroit's 2020 election, including copies of absentee ballots and signed envelopes in one of the largest election FOIA hauls in U.S. history. TikTok, Detroit election officials and Michigan's Dirty Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson have officially been put on notice. Folks, how many of you believe Jocelyn Benson? Do you remember Jocelyn Benson was the one who said, hey, no, she was talking to the election clerks. Now, if you don't certify, just know we'll be coming after you. That's very naughty, right? I mean, if you guys remember this video, it was absolutely one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. But it was done by Jocelyn Benson. So here we go. After years of being gaslighted by some of the most dishonest people in election history, the Gateway pundit, along with one of the most respected election investigators in the state, are about to blow the lid off the lies about Detroit's secure 2020 election that helped to give Joe Biden an inexplicable victory in the must-win state of Michigan. That's right. Now, it's interesting because this last year, Trump seemed to win Michigan by a reasonable margin. And yet in 2020, it was just... I mean, he was up by, I'm trying to remember, was Michigan? No, that was Pennsylvania. That was 750,000. How many votes? Well, let's ask Heather. Heather, how many votes was Joe Biden down by in Michigan before they stopped the count? Do you recall the numbers?
I don't remember that. I do not.
I mean, there was so much.
I don't want to give bad information.
Remember. It's just so ridiculous. All of this. So, but now we have over a million documents. Yehuda Miller has been on this for quite some time. I mean, he's been doing great work. But on election, here we go. 300,000 in Michigan. There's the number. I hadn't gone far enough in the article. On election night 2020, President Donald J. Trump appeared to hold commanding leads in key battleground states. Approximately 100,000 votes in Wisconsin, 300,000 in Michigan, and 700,000 in Pennsylvania. For Joe Biden to erase those margins, his performance in the outstanding vote would have to be dramatically stronger, particularly in heavy Democratic strongholds such as Detroit, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia. Now, one of the things, Heather, you have covered, there, I hit the wrong button. I wanted to remove that. You have covered ad nauseum the election. You really focused in on Georgia. But now we're looking here, and of course, we covered all the states. I mean, I know you got into all the states as well. You know, we're in Wisconsin, where they're always telling us that Trump lost every court battle, and in fact, in Wisconsin, he won at the Wisconsin Supreme Court. The problem was the remedy was to actually call all these indefinitely confined people and find out who was actually indefinitely confined, which wasn't going to happen in the 3 days allotted for certification. So this is why, hence on January 6th, there was the issue where, hey, can we just hold up the vote here so we can investigate this a little more closely, have the states look into this, which seemed to be a reasonable solution. We're told we're conspiracy theorists. We're told that we wanted to overturn an election, destroy the country, insurrection, you know, all this crap. But the reality is we just wanted to get to the bottom of what's going on because these numbers are improbable and impossible. So Jocelyn Benson, Gretchen Whitmer, and the AG Nessel, the trifecta of evil there in Michigan, did dirty work. And now we have 1 million documents from the 2020 election. I'm very excited about this story.
The documents are from Michigan? No, they're from Wisconsin, isn't it?
No, Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, it's from Detroit. Okay. Yeah, I
So,
mean, I'd love to see all the documents for all the battleground states that were in question, but
well,
you know,
we're
this
getting
was like,
closer to seeing Georgia, Heather. We're getting closer to
yeah,
seeing
we're
Georgia.
getting closer. My good friend Garland's been, had the ballots in Fulton County unsealed for like going on 4 years or something now, and he still doesn't have them in his hand. So it's like, I'm not
Well, now a
confident.
grand jury has been impaneled.
Mhm.
So DOJ is getting involved. Hopefully, we'll see some things coming up in that. I'm gonna go back to this, Heather. We're gonna get back to Michigan here and Detroit, but you're down in Arizona right now. I see right behind you. I'm gonna go get this out to a little wider view because you got the Charlie Kirk sign behind you there. Never surrender, Charlie Kirk. You were right up front.
This one
You were
says, "Here I am, Lord, send me." Isaiah 6:8. So
yes.
yeah, I was there yesterday. And like speaking on the election stuff, Arizona, as you guys know, had the largest election audit in U.S. history in Maricopa County, where they audited all the ballots. They did a audit on the machines and all sorts of other stuff. And that's really when Charlie Kirk and I like started connecting. I'd gone on his podcast before to talk about the Georgia election fraud because they were at the time digging into all the Arizona election fraud because their headquarters for Turning Point was right here in Arizona. Right. So that was just in their backyard was the largest audit. And when they saw what was going on, Charlie had been following that and they knew I was, staying on top of all the Georgia stuff and other states going on war rooms. So like back after the 2020 election, the people that were actually digging into election fraud was a small group. Like it was relatively small. A lot of people had their theories on like, oh, I don't think it was, fair, but like the actual amount of people that were digging in and like fighting to get to the bottom of it and actually giving the findings a voice, people like Bannon, people like Charlie Kirk. So I just have always felt a camaraderie with Charlie and Turning Point because I knew Charlie was bold and brave enough to like expose what was happening. Because for me, when I started realizing what went on in Georgia, I didn't know I was going to find election fraud. I didn't know I was going to run into all these things. I just sort of like discovered it when I went there, like naturally, right? I didn't even know who Georgia's governor was at the time. And so for me and my personal testimony, uncovering all this fraud illuminated all of the networks and the deceit and the people that maybe they weren't saying it wasn't stolen, but they weren't saying what was going on. Like there was a lot of people that after January 6th were afraid to even talk about election fraud because the national legacy fake news media was spreading this narrative that the people that said the election was stolen were the ones inciting the January 6th, insurrection. So nobody wanted to be called, a violent extremist trying to incite there was no way to call out the 2020 election without being lumped in with insurrection. And so there were a lot
Exactly.
of people, even in conservative circles, that wouldn't touch the election stuff. Charlie Kirk was one of them. He's like, I don't care what fake names people call me. And he's always been that way, which is one thing I've admired about him. But, you know, it's a crazy time, but, hopefully people are still fighting. And I think now more than ever, we're going to start getting answers, real answers. I think Charlie Kirk's passing is going to, not just trigger spiritual revival, but it is going to trigger people like have this burning and quest for truth now. Because I think his passing illuminated so many people that maybe weren't even affiliated with Turning Point or politics or conservatives are now going to give people like myself or other people around him they're going to start listening more. And so I think his passing is really going to change America.
Well, and it's interesting, in speaking to that. So obviously, I mean, I built my channel. Those of you who followed me, I mean, we were covering the Arizona audits. We were doing the New Hampshire. Actually, that was a ground zero too, Heather, right out there in good old Windham, New Hampshire, in the town meetings there in Windham. I mean, there was Georgia, there was Wisconsin. We had the different people from the different states on. And I remember I would go to Charlie Kirk constantly for updates. And I remember too, when Kerry Lake's election, he covered that. And, and I was making videos about the, not Richer, but the other guy perjuring himself in court there from one day to the next. But when you look at these leads and you're always wondering what's going on, now we finally have 1 million documents out of Detroit, Michigan, folks. This is huge.
Are they gonna make those public, like for people to comb through?
So I would wager what's going to happen first off is Yehuda Miller has been doing this for a while, and he's got a team. So I'm sure he's going to make everything public in due time. Some of these documents aren't going to really be worth much, Heather. I mean, some of them are just, extra documents, right? So he's going to start combing through those. And yes, he will totally make the documents, I'm sure, available over the course of time. He's going to start releasing some findings on them. The documents will then back those findings up. But, I'm gonna go on here too. Just as the night wore on, reports emerged. You guys all remember this. Often inconsistent that some precincts had stopped counting, sent workers home, or restarted tabulations under unclear circumstances. To this day, there is a confusion and disagreement over the extent of these pauses and whether any state laws or procedures were ignored in the process. Actually, there isn't really that much of a debate because secretaries of states cannot make law. Okay, just remember, folks, I'm just a bill up on Capitol Hill. Schoolhouse Rocks told you how a bill became a law. Okay, you propose these items, they had to pass through the House, the Senate, they get signed by the president, or at each state legislature through the legislature, the Senate, and then the governor. If they don't do that, they're not a law. Secretaries of states can't issue guidance and have it be law. Okay, they can't just upend our election system and say, oh, that's okay. That's not how the deal works. I just want to make that abundantly clear here because it really pisses me off. I mean, this is the gateway pundit that I like, but unclear, there's nothing unclear about that. Nothing unclear about that. Okay. All right. I got it. You got it, Heather? I mean,
so I pulled up an old text message that I sent back in 2021, right? And this was to, I won't say his name, but like one of Charlie's like inner circle people that get him info, right? Like we're all talking about the election stuff. And they were, I think, going to be doing an event on the Arizona election stuff. There were these hearings where Congressman Andy Biggs testified. There was like all kinds of information that came out in those hearings about, like they wanted to get servers and things like that from Maricopa. There was a lot of subpoena documents, and it was this big whole thing. Here's a text message I said at the time, which I don't know if this has ever been solved, like the who did this, but this is something I said to one of Charlie's inner circle people. I said a big story to ask about if I can't make it from the hearing is the 37,000 blank password queries that were made on the EMS server they reported. The EMS server controls the voting machines and keeps a running security log of every action taken on the server, but it can only store 20 megabytes of data. Once it reaches that threshold, it deletes the oldest data to make room for the new data. Someone on March 11th, before handing the server to the audit team, made 37,000 blank password queries, which flushed out all of the data from the election time window that the audit team needed to see. In order to find out who made those 37,000 entries, they need access to the routers, which Maricopa County said they won't hand over after saying they would. Sounds like a cover-up of some sort to me. So this is something that I was sharing with them in Charlie's circle, right? And Charlie was on top of all this stuff. To this day, I don't know if we ever found out, like, did we get access to those routers? Because I stopped, like, really closely following it because I was focused on Georgia. But I did watch the hearings, and that's what jumped out to me. So you have someone in Maricopa that went on and, like, right before they were legally required to hand this over to be audited, they made a bunch of entries which flushed out all of the data, making it impossible for the audit team to see what happened during that election time window. Who made those 37,000 queries? Like, did Maricopa ever hand over the routers so that we could figure that out? Or did that
No, they did not.
investigation just disappear? Like, so there's still a lot of unanswered questions about the 2020 election that we should still actively pursue justice for. Because if you find out who made those queries, you find out, were they getting money? Did they have unusual bank deposits? Is this some organized crime, influence over our election processes? These investigations have to be continued. And I'm hoping with Kash Patel, Kash Patel is very involved in the election stuff too, prior to becoming director of the FBI. Like, I know Kash cares about it, so I'm hoping that they are actively working to get to the bottom of this because,
Do you know what I love about Kash? So the Democrats were holding this hearing, right? This is just last week, Kash Patel, right, and grilling him. And they were making it like it was new news that he had canned 5,000 people from the FBI. Like, this is like some breaking story. And I'm thinking, yeah, I know. We talked about that months ago and we were excited. Like, we want them all canned. I mean, look, that organization is so corrupt. I thought we were going to turn it into a museum of the deep state. All right. Come on, Kash. Fire some more. I think the FBI, I don't know if you know about the foundations of the FBI and when it really came about, but
no,
this goes back to actually, I think it was before Hoover's administration. Hoover was the one that really politicized it. Was this back during FDR's administration? But it dealt with, there's a book called Killers of the Flower Moon that I've read. And basically down in Oklahoma, a bunch of Native Americans were dying, getting killed, committing suicide and these types of things. But really what it was about gaining oil rights to their land. And so the people were killing for money, basically. And there was this whole thing, but the community was tight-lipped about it, covered it up. That's why we needed federal investigators in there to figure this out. And it started with a noble purpose, and now it's turned into what it is today, which in our last administration was the strong arm of the law to go out and harass. And actually, I don't know if you saw, but Senator Grassley, I'm gonna skip ahead, folks. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to Michigan. Stick with me. We'll get back to Michigan. I wanna cover this though, since we're on it. How many of you saw this? Before a left-wing assassin murdered Charlie Kirk, Chris Wray's FBI tried to destroy Turning Point USA. So this is back from September 16th. So this is almost a week ago. But how many of you caught this with Chuck Grassley releasing these documents? I want to see in the chat. Did you catch this? Yes or no? Because this is huge. Okay. And let's see. Go here. Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA was on a short list of Republican groups targeted by President Joe Biden's FBI under the direction of then Director Christopher Wray. Grassley dropped the bombshell Tuesday during a Senate Judiciary Committee regular hearing on the oversight of the FBI, along with a revolting new document. It's well understood that your predecessor left you an FBI infected with politics, Grassley said in his opening statement, speaking to Kash. As proof, Grassley shared recently released records 92 targets the FBI was investigating or intending to investigate in the large-scale multi-year political weaponization operation named Arctic Frost, a joint investigation using resources from the FBI, DOJ, and OIG. This bogus witch hunt involved more than 150 interviews, over 400 subpoenas, largely for bank records, hundreds of witnesses, and search warrants for cell phones of high-level government officials, electronic devices, iCloud access, and email accounts. So some of you have heard about Arctic Frost, okay? The Republican Attorney General's Association was part of this, Trump political groups. So 92 Republican-linked targets, okay? This was all.
Wait, is there a list of who those targets were?
There is. Here, we're going to go down here. I'm just trying to get, in addition to Turning Point USA or Turning Point Action, the list included numerous entities related to Donald Trump. Here are a few others on the target list. My Pillow. That's right, folks. Mike Lindell. They cannot.
There's no way they weren't investigating me. Like, I would honestly be offended because of all the work I did in the election integrity space. And then I was at every Turning Point event as a reporter and as an ambassador and as a special guest. So, like, I'd be so shocked if the Biden administration, and I'd be offended if
Well,
they
they
weren't
don't
investigating.
list you. You're not listed here, Heather.
No, but I'm saying, is there like an actual list, like in the
I don't
document,
know.
of, like everyone
But
whose bank records and
I
everything else that they were
I
like?
had the good privilege, Heather, of one of my videos being used in by the FBI, by the DOJ in a court
I got my
case.
first subpoena like a year and a half ago. And it
Oh,
was like
wow.
a year ago, maybe. I don't know.
We're special people. Hey, but since I'm bringing up Mike Lindell, because my pillow is part of the list, you guys know all the law we went for.
Of course, see, that's what I'm saying. Is like I would be literally offended if I wasn't part of the list because all my favorite people are part of the list.
mypillow.com/lumberjack, folks. Save up to 66% or call 1-800-568-2865. The percale sheets, $29.88. Okay. Once they're gone, they're gone. Any color, any size. The towels are in stock. The towels are in stock, Heather. Yeah. It's pretty next level.
Oh, they're back in stock?
Yeah. Heather really wants some of those, but they leave like immediately. They're the best towels ever known to man. Okay.
And
and
don't
then
buy them now until I get mine.
The premium pillows. No, go buy as many as you want.
Go buy. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
All right. So My Pillow, Women for America First, Conservative Partnership Institute, America First Policy Institute, Tea Party Express, Sidney Powell, Public Interest Legal Foundation, several entries simply listed as Giuliani, likely referring to Rudy Giuliani. The deep state used its excessive access to investigative tools to try to intimidate or stop Charlie Kirk from becoming the next generation's leader of the conservative movement. So all that as well is going on. And then you have to remember that Bill Barr at the DOJ, so now Yehuda Miller has gotten these 1 million+ documents, and Bill Barr didn't want anything to do with that investigation. He shut it down. What are your thoughts on Bill Barr?
I'm not a fan. I haven't directly dug into him, but I know like he worked with a law firm that I think it was Kirkland and Ellis that oversaw the acquisition of Dominion by, I think it was State Street Capital and things like that. So like he was just in circles with other people that I really don't like. So birds of a feather, and bad company corrupts good character. So I've just always never been, a huge Bill Barr person.
All right, back to this article. I got to bring it back because I got to keep wrapping it back here to Michigan. Michigan lawmakers and election integrity investigators have spent an untold number of hours and resources to prove the election in Detroit was rigged. To date, they have not been able to secure the documents needed to verify what they believe happened that led to the inexplicable victory for Joe Biden in the presidential race. Enter Yehuda Miller, an American hero. It's on his Superman cape. Here he is. Look at this. There's his documents in the U-Haul truck, baby. There's Yehuda. Okay. So Yehuda Miller, a New Jersey resident, explained to the Gateway Pundit that he used to be non-political until after the 2020 election, when he found himself questioning the hotly contested election results and the subsequent lack of transparency by election officials in key swing states, whose results handed the presidency to the unremarkable and, by many accounts, incoherent Democrat candidate Joe Biden. Last week, Mr. Miller contacted me with news that he had just obtained almost 1 million election documents from the 2020 election via FOIA from the city of Detroit and Wayne County. Miller's request for the documents was originally rejected. Imagine that. Undeterred by their denial of public records, Miller hired a top FOIA attorney who successfully sued for the documents before the expiration of the 22-month federally mandated period, which requires election officials to retain all election records from all general, special, or primary elections. We are pleased to report that Mr. Miller has now secured copies of the actual absentee ballots, the signed envelopes that contained the absentee ballots, absentee ballot applications, QVF files, and total tapes from each, including the out-of-balance Detroit precincts.
I mean, yeah, that's a really good haul there that he's got.
This is a huge haul. Look at this. Okay, what I think is really funny, just a little aside, this is the law department from the city of Detroit. Look at the city of Detroit's logo. Does this look like wokeness on display? I'm just saying. I don't even know
what is that supposed to be?
I don't know, but it looks woke to me. Okay, it's just so here it is. All of those have been sent. The foregoing statements are true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. Okay, so when I had to sign for this, the director, Within hours of obtaining the electronic files and hard copies of the copied materials, the Gateway Pundit began working with top election integrity experts in Michigan to review the massive amount of data. A few months ago, Mr. Miller obtained a large portion of FOIA materials from Wayne County, where Detroit is located, so his collection of data from the 2020 election has now been completed. Many in Michigan who have become aware of his massive FOIA haul are calling it a miracle. A miracle, that's right. Here we go, folks. We have a miracle, a bona fide miracle. We have people turning to Jesus, and now the second miracle is coming about, and that's finally getting records from Detroit, Michigan. Heather, I don't know which is the bigger miracle. No, I'm kidding. It's just... No, revival is what this country needs. I tell you, it's what this country
That's
needs.
what this country's getting. And like, I just feel like, having been there yesterday, it was one of the most... It's a day I will never forget in my life. Just so powerful in every way. Seeing like almost the entire cabinet of the U.S. government, like up there talking about Jesus, talking about God. There's a tweet that I shared yesterday that went viral. And I said in it, I'm like, I have never seen, I don't think at any time in American history, let me read it verbatim. I don't know if there's ever been this much press from all over the world gathered in a place of worship. Charlie has turned State Farm Stadium into a house of God, and the message of Jesus Christ will reach people all across the globe. I have chills. That's gotten, posted it, but it's so true. Like, can name any other concert or like event that had nothing. They played 3 hours of worship music over a sea of media. And like, all I can think about is like, what if those people on those stadiums, right? Like, one of the reasons Charlie would go out to campuses, right, was to speak with people that didn't think like us. Like, he didn't want to put himself in an echo chamber. He wanted to go out and be the salt and the light and transform people, and not, limit his conversation and dialogue. What if, right, the people on that riser, you had NBC, you had everybody you can possibly imagine. What if somehow the Holy Spirit gets to them, and then they go back to their institutions that are corrupted, and they become the salt and light in their networks, right? Like, this is the power of the gospel and ministering to people. And I just felt like in that room, I mean, Elon Musk was in the room. I don't know if Elon Musk has ever gone to church. I'd love to ask him that question. But if he hasn't, Charlie Kirk brought him to church that day. And so you have Elon now sharing tweets, that basically like quote scripture. Like, this is like just how powerful yesterday was.
Oh, it was huge. It was huge. I mean, I'm sitting there watching it all, and it's, and Chris Tomlin, who this Holy Forever is my favorite worship song. Okay. It just is. And I just opened X, and there's Chris Tomlin saying, "So honored to lead a moment of worship at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. Jesus was proclaimed so boldly." And of course you have, these and here you have this guy commenting, "I'm so disappointed in what you, Crowder and Louis, have become. Racism, misogyny, and white supremacy is the exact opposite of Jesus." And you're always going to have that. I just want you guys to just, whoever it is, these people are, it doesn't matter, because there's an old expression, the dogs bark, but the caravan moves on. And I don't know if you know where that comes from, Heather, but basically it goes back to the times of the old caravans, and they would go through these towns, and all these yipping little dogs would come out after the caravan. Mm-hmm. And what did the caravan do? Did it stop for the barking dogs? No, it ignored the barking dogs. So all these people commenting, Ilhan Omar's out there making stupid remarks and stuff. The dogs bark, but the caravan moves on. We've got a country to save. I love that. Donald Trump sharing how Charlie Kirk would call him up. "We got a country to save," and then tell me he needed to go. The funniest thing was listening to that. And the other funniest thing was Don Jr. Johnny, you've been, you've been a little aggressive on social media.
We have the memes.
Which is hilarious considering the source. It's like,
Well, it's funny because Don Jr. shared my photo of Chris Christie on the airplane as one of his and he said making fupas great again is the caption. So I wonder if that was when he got the call, but I doubt it because Trump said he loved that photo too.
I gotta give a little props here, Brian. Thank you for the super chat. I'm a police officer and worked the memorial yesterday. Oh my gosh!
Thank you for being there, Brian.
Yeah, thanks.
The law enforcement yesterday was incredible there. I mean, all over the arena, inside, outside. I mean, thank you guys all because you kept us safe yesterday. And I don't know how many people texted me, my family, friends, and stuff like that, because they knew where I was going, and they're like, "Be safe, be safe, be safe." And I know a lot of the times when people say that, it means well, right? But like, I was thinking about this the other day. Be safe in a way is almost like in a situation like this is kind of like rooted in fear. It's like fear of death, fear of pain, fear of something bad happening. And so it dawned on me, like, wouldn't a better thing to say in situations like this is thank you for being there. Like, be bold, be righteous, like go out and stand for something, because to die at the end of the day is really to gain. And when we die, like Charlie did, whether it's of assassin's bullet, old age, sickness, what really matters is like, are we saved? And when we are, we meet our creator, we get eternal life in heaven. Like, why would we ever fear death when like the most amazing thing as Christians happens when we die? We get like this whole new incredible life. You know what I mean? And so instead of telling people to be safe when it comes to like standing up for things, I think we need to change that wordage and encourage people to be bold and be fearless and righteous.
Well, it reminds me too much of COVID, Heather. It reminds me of COVID because that's what everybody was saying during COVID. Now I'm gonna do something. Two things, real quick here. First, I'm gonna do this. Immortal Legend says Christ is Lord, and we're all Bill Bailey. Yep, and I'm gonna share something, Heather. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's your Venmo. Anyways, if anybody wants to give to Heather, she's down there. She was down there reporting, went to the memorial service. If you want to support her and her trip and her effort down there, it's at Talk Mullins on Venmo, or you can just do the old QR code there off the screen. So
I took one of these too.
Cool.
I also can use some prayers. Can I ask for prayers too? Just prayers from you guys, because I know your audience are incredible prayer warriors that I'm sort of like career-wise now in between. I'm no longer working with America First News. They're hoping to maybe launch next year, but the investing and stuff like that fell through is what for that stuff. Like they don't have all that they need to launch this year. So that said, I'm in this little window of time now where I have to pray, like, what direction does God want me to go in career-wise? So, like, prayers would be very much appreciated.
We're going to pray for you right now, Heather. We're going to do it right now. We're going to do it right now because there's no time like the present. Now. Do it now. So, Father God, we just come before you in the mighty name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. We thank you so much for everything you've done, for everything you've done, Lord. We thank you for your saving grace. We thank you that all the trials and struggles of life, every hardship we go through is not worthy of being compared to the glory that shall be revealed within us. And Lord, right now, Heather's out of work. She needs work. She needs direction. So Lord, we all just trust in you to show her what to do and to make the money needed to make so she can take care of herself and her daughter. And we just ask your blessing over her and her life and her work. And we thank you for all you're doing, causing this national revival with the Charlie Kirk Memorial, and how you're utilizing a crazy moment in time, an assassin's bullet, to bring America together in ways that we haven't been together. It's the time of dividing, the winnowing, separating the wheat from the chaff, Lord. You're doing it. You're doing it all. We get to see it. We're here on this timeline for this. We thank you for that opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So yeah, there. I'll just throw that up one more time. It's just at Talk Mullins on Venmo if you're using Venmo. And then Heather, I'd received like $100 through my Cash App and PayPal for you, so I got to get that to you. So I will get that done.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. But I know a trip like that between airfare and lodging and everything is probably more like $1,000. So if we could get Heather back to zero on that, it'd be great. So thank you. And again, thank you for supporting Mike Lindell and My Pillow. We've got big wins out there right now, folks. And it's interesting. I was reading some posts the other day, and I understand. I really do. I understand people I know, and they're like, oh, well, I love all this unity or whatever. And, we're just winning, but, people haven't been arrested yet. And, they went on, listed all their, okay. I understand. Okay. Seriously, I really do. I do. So if that's the boat you're in, I understand why you're in the boat. Okay. But the boat you're in isn't necessarily the right boat. Okay. I understand that not everything's happened that we want to see happen yet. But I actually trust Trump more than I trust Joe Biden. Believe it or not. And I trust Kash Patel more than I trust Christopher Wray. Believe it or not. Did you
see Kash Patel's post about the investigation into Charlie?
I did.
The big long one where he said that they're basically they're launching these investigations to see if there's other accomplices, and they're looking into all different theories, including Candace Owens. There's been this weird coordinated effort to and I'm not even the biggest Candace fan. I have reasons that things she said and done that I don't agree with at all. But I know for a fact she was Charlie's friend because I covered her and Charlie's campus tours for Real America's Voice years ago, and I was backstage with Candace and Charlie, and they just had a great friendship. They were talking about their kids' personal lives, just the whole thing, right? Beyond the political stuff. They had a friendship. And so after he passed away, Candace, in Candace fashion, did her deep dive investigation into what happened. And I've watched all of her podcasts. And she, one of the things she made claims she made in particular is that the family member of you have the alleged shooter, he's the alleged shooter. Technically, it could have been someone else and he could be the fall guy. Who knows? You have the guy, Tyler Robinson, who is alleged to have been the one to pull the trigger and shoot Charlie Kirk, was dating and living with a trans boyfriend. Yep, no, this is the official story. But
this is just normal in all of these, mind you. I mean, because every single shooting has been some sort of trans related thing. I have to address something here though, quick, Heather. Hold on. This Digmar said Neil Johnson are the 2020 1 million election ducks, the same as the 1.1 million dirty names on the voter rolls 2024. Elon Musk was no. This is totally different. This is the actual ballots, absentee ballots, and envelopes. Digmar, I want to make this. This is a huge haul. Okay, yeah. So I just, anyways, you can go on, Heather. I just had to answer that.
So, the point I want to make is that I watched all of Candace's stuff, and I think it's really odd that there's this coordinated effort of these certain influencers that are don't listen to Candace, don't listen to Candace, don't listen to Candace, and I'm like, argue what Candace is saying, right? This has to do with Charlie. This has nothing to do with anything else. It has to do with what happened and who was involved with Charlie, and that's all she's really talking about in the post. And what stood out to me in her podcast was two things. One, that she said the family member who rents their property out to the shooter and the trans boyfriend, right? So this is the person that rents them the place that they go to bed at night, is apparently in contact with Candace and is saying that the official story and things like that is not adding up. They're also she was talking about how supposedly the shooter when they were arrested, the timeline doesn't add up, and the clothing that the official story says he was wearing doesn't add up. They also say that there's all these reports that the neighborhood, right, apparently like where the house was located only has limited parking. This is what Candace was saying on her show based on all the people that have been coming forward to her. And that in the weeks prior to the shooting, there was an unusual amount of traffic and vehicles going to that home. And this, in Kash Patel's post that he put out, he mentions that they are investigating all information, including the possibility of high traffic in the weeks leading up. So this makes me think that the FBI is actually looking into some of the information that Candace had put out. And so that's a good sign, because like we should be getting to the bottom of this. The other thing that the family member, according to Candace, of the trans boyfriend said was that he was known to basically have this issue with being on the dark web. That's another issue. The dark web is where, you know, things like hitmen and all sorts of other stuff. I mean, like, the dark web is the dark web. You know, this is another important part of the investigation. And so for me, what was more concerning than Candace's, you know, past views on XYZ was the fact that so many people were trying to tell all of us not to listen to this information in the immediate way of Charlie Kirk's like passing. Like, I just find it so disturbing that there's this coordinated effort amongst large accounts and people that like I had respected that are like trying to character assassinate her, trying to character assassinate Tucker. And it's like, in the wake of Charlie's death, as a journalist, I'm not an influencer, I'm a journalist. And so as a journalist, I need to hear all information and explore all theories and look at all evidence and, you know, let the truth sort itself out. But the fact that so many people don't want to do that claim to be
I'll
like,
be frank, Heather, I don't put a whole lot of stock in that. What I do put stock in is what Kash had said, and in the fact that there had been a couple accounts, left-wing activist accounts, who even one of them had predated. I think they said on September 9th that something big was going to happen on September 10th or something interesting. So and that account is now shut down. Interestingly enough, they closed their own account. So, and I think what I find really fascinating all the time is that these people who go out and do these things are so proud of themselves. They can't shut up about it. Even beforehand, they have like this special knowledge and they've just got to share it. I don't know who all was behind this. I think we're going to find more out in the investigation ahead. But one of the things I saw here in the comments, I mean, a couple people are like, Kash is compromised and these two people think Kash is good and all that. Yeah, I do. There you go. So I would, again, if Kash is heading up an investigation at the FBI to find out about this, and actually, you know, the other thing I think people need to understand about an investigation like this, especially when you're dealing with Charlie Kirk, you have all the people in the administration. These are people who knew Charlie. They have a personal connection to Charlie. And they want this information. They are going to dive into this and they are going to lead to the logical conclusion and where the evidence points. So I actually do trust Kash to do this. I do trust Dan Bongino.
And I think it's important too, though. Like, whether people like Candace or not, I think there's people out there that don't like me, but I think it's important, whether we like people or not, that we allow people the freedom to investigate, to share their concerns, to share their information, to share their theories. I mean, like, I know some people might not like Candace for whatever reason, but like, I encourage everybody who cares about Charlie to listen to what she says about the investigation, to listen to what, you know, anybody else says about the investigation. Listen to what every single person out there that claims to be investigating Charlie's death, listen to what they all have to say, because you can't just assume that she's not going to have credible information. You have to listen to it, verify, and some of what she has put out there is being verified. So I'm Oh, it was crazy. It just felt like right after his death, people were like, oh, they were all mad because, Candace hinted that Charlie may have been converting to Catholicism. And I'm like, why is that, like, regardless, like, why is that what you're focusing on in that whole podcast, when she also said that there was traffic in the weeks leading up to the shooting at this? Like, for me, as someone that cares about Charlie and wants to get to the bottom of what happened, that to me is more important than whether or not he was going to convert to Catholicism, which you can just ask his wife, who is still very much alive and now the CEO of Turning Point. Like, why are we arguing over whether or not he's converting to Catholicism and not uniting in the fact that the family of this trans boyfriend has apparently reached out to Candace and is in contact with her, giving her information that, like, basically proves that the official narrative we're all being told about his death is not true. If she's actually talking with this person, the information Candace is presenting is very alarming. And it means that it suggests there is a bigger cover-up going on.
You know what's interesting? I've seen a couple other questions here, and somebody asked me about U-Hunt with that round take your head off. It's a 30-06. It's a Mauser. It's actually an older rifle. A Mauser Action was Germany from World War II. I actually have an 8mm Mauser. A 30-06 is a very powerful round. But here's the thing, my understanding of all this, and again, I'm going to let the investigation play out, because I honestly, I wasn't there, and I don't know, and I don't have the forensics. I don't have all that information. But my understanding was that Charlie had a vest on, and that the round went off the vest and fragmented. Now, depending upon what kind of round was used, I mean, that's all within the realm of reason. I mean, if it was a soft point hunting round, that's not really so likely. But if they're using a ballistic tip with a polymer tip, then that's very likely a fragmenting type of bullet. Could be a target round, those types of things. So I don't know, folks. There's so much we don't know, and so I always like with things like this. And one of the things that and this is the advent of the internet and social media and everything, and it really causes everybody to be in a mode of wanting information immediately and jumping to conclusions ahead of time. When we had newspapers and we didn't have the internet, stories would get investigated for, like, I mean, breaking news was a day old, and breaking news was still in a week, and they would investigate. And we don't have that anymore. Now, there's good and bad that comes from that, Heather, as you well know. I mean, so you've got people posting all kinds of information out there. Now you're looking at all kinds of information, and some of it's good and some of it's bad, and you got to filter through that. But it does, by virtue of that information getting out quicker, it probably forces the powers that be to look into more things, which kind of was what you're alluding to. And then, looking into more things can cause you to get to things you might not have otherwise, or things that could have been covered. That which can happen now. But the flip side of it is, like, I mean, I remember hearing, I found out because you had texted me, I'm out in the mountains hunting. I mean, nobody's supposed to be getting shot. I'm out doing my fun. And then what? Charlie Kirk, what? I mean, I had received 4 texts all within like 5 minutes of each other. And I just happened to be on a spot on the mountain where I had coverage. And then I'm looking, and people are talking about a plane leaving Utah, and it went off the radar. And it's like, I don't think that was ever necessarily true. Valerie on this chat just said no vest was worn. I don't know. I don't know everything yet, because I'm getting all this information. There's too much of it, quite frankly. And I don't know which is true and which isn't right now. And that's why, and people are like, oh, Cash, I do trust Cash. Cash is one of the good guys. He knows Charlie. He knew, Dan Bongino knew Charlie Kirk very well. Donald Trump, I mean, he had Donald Trump's phone number. We don't have Donald Trump's phone number. He's just calling Donald Trump, hey, I want you to be in California. Donald's like, Charlie, I'm the president of the United States. I can't just jump on a plane and call. It's just funny listening to all this. But the bottom line is, this administration has a definite interest in finding out what happened. So I do trust them to figure it out.
Yeah, I do too, 100%. And I think that if you follow the Twitter account for Andrew Colvette, he's Charlie's executive producer and the one like carrying on Charlie's show and stuff right now. He's done a great job of addressing some of the conspiracy theories, some of the issues and questions, because he wants the answers to all these questions too. I mean, this guy has been, through hell the last week, but managed to carry on the torch of, Charlie, continue the show, and at the same time dig into the murder of his friend and boss. Like, so follow Andrew, because if anyone's going to put out information and that wants the same answers we all want, it's Andrew. And I think he's done a phenomenal job. And all of Charlie's team over at Turning Point have done a phenomenal job of like continuing all of this.
I can't believe what they've been through. I can't believe what these people have
been through. They didn't even have time to grieve, though. They like they all just immediately after his death just kept Turning Point going while having to process like the loss of someone like that was the core of the organization. I mean, I just think everybody at Turning Point this past week has done an incredible job. I mean, the event yesterday was the biggest one in Turning Point history.
Oh.
Like, I mean, and they did that for Charlie, and I think everybody there is incredible.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
we're going to, as God is my witness, I promise you guys, like, we are going to find out everything about who was involved with Charlie's death. I know for a fact, like, we will. I can feel it. I can feel it from the administration yesterday, like President Trump, the Trump family. I mean, Don Jr. himself was like, Charlie was like a little brother to me. So if you don't think that that family and that administration is going to leave no stone unturned into the who's who of what went on there, you're crazy. And if I were the person behind this, the people, the organization, if this turns out to be some sort of organized crime, I would be very, very afraid, because you have one of the most powerful administrations, most fearless presidents that are going to come after you and that are going to get justice for Charlie. So it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. And I think the other thing one of the accounts that I tend to trust, I don't know if it's Yehuda Miller or the guy out of Wisconsin. Anyways, they said expect, and this was dealing with the election, expect Tulsi to be dropping some major information again in the very near future. So I think that there's
I mean, literally, like, everybody that controls the most powerful country in the world has their jobs right now because of the work Charlie did.
Yes.
Gratitude they have for Charlie. Like, Tulsi wouldn't be where she is without Charlie. RFK wouldn't be where he is without Charlie. Cash wouldn't be where he is without Charlie. And Trump wouldn't be where he is without Charlie. Like, these people will get justice for Charlie. Like, there's not a doubt in my mind.
Yes. And I love like what Trump's doing with DC and cleaning things up and just showing that good governance, good leadership, law and order, this stuff actually works. I think it's important to note on this. I got to go back to there's a comment. Look at this. Per Gallup, 69% of Americans support abortion rights up to 12 weeks. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't trust Gallup. Anyways, Kirk believed it should be illegal in all cases, including rape and incest. He was very far right on that and everything else. Yeah, he was a real conservative. Imagine that. You know, I don't know. That's why I like
crazy about that whole, like, I was thinking about this other day because somebody else brought up the whole, like, you know, like the rape situation as being like a justification for abortion. And it just like, it made me think of like, okay, if you thought about that, like I think the reason that some people think about that is because they think fundamentally at their core, they associate conception with the act of rape, right? So if you can convince people, right, to have this fundamental core belief that the child is actually, like, in every case, a gift from God. It's like
yes,
like there's thousands and thousands of rape that still don't lead to a pregnancy. And I'm not making the justification for it, but I'm just trying to say, like, this is where people don't realize that, like, you can be raped without becoming pregnant. The pregnancy itself is so different and unique from the rape that pregnancy and conception is something that is a, like, blessing, no matter the circumstances, because it's a miracle to be able to create life. The creation of life is a miracle, and it has nothing to do with rape, right? And so if people could, in their minds, separate rape from the miracle of conception, then I think that's where Charlie's mind was, is that he doesn't see pregnancy as the same thing as the rape. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there was one woman that came up to Charlie at one of his events. I think it was either a woman, I can't remember if it was a woman or a guy, but they came up and they said that they were the product of rape and that their parent had chosen not to abort them, and that they were just grateful for people like Charlie for encouraging people like his mom not to do things like that. And so, like, it made me think as a woman too, right? Like, you know, they want to convince me that if I were raped tomorrow and I got pregnant, that like that baby is somehow my rapist. But like that baby is technically a part of me and always will be. And God decided to give me the miracle of like a child in that situation. Like holy crap, like way to turn it. Like the way I see it now is like, I get where Charlie was coming from. It's like, man, take a bad situation and God says, here, I'm going to bless you with a freaking baby. Like is rape terrible? But is the gift of being able to conceive a child not a miracle in and of itself? I know people that have been trying to get pregnant for like 10, 15 years and they can't have a baby. Like, yeah. So I just think that there should be more conversation around that and how to distinguish and separate mentally this idea that rape and conception are somehow connected, because it's totally different. Even if you conceive the baby in rape, the baby.
Honestly, that's just a red herring argument anyways, because here's the reality of it. The amount of abortions that take place. Okay, so I remember one time I was involved in this debate, and I said, all right. I said, fine. Let me ask you this. We give you rape, incest, life of the mother. We give you those. You good? We can take the rest? Because fully 96%, 97% of abortions are simply elective abortions. So it's like, okay, well, so we give you those. I still think, you shouldn't be, offing the baby, because it's not the baby's fault. But at the end of the day, so we give you that. No, they weren't okay with that, really. So it's just a red herring. It's just something they throw out there. It's a like small.
Nobody, yeah. But it's definitely a red herring argument. But what I would challenge people, especially women, to understand that like nobody asks to be raped, obviously. But like, don't let anybody convince you that like if that happens and you become pregnant, no matter the circumstances, that is still your child. That is your child. That was your egg that got fertilized and turned into a little baby. Like, and I say this as a single mom I've raised my daughter completely alone, like completely alone. Like, does that mean because the father wasn't good that somehow my daughter means less? Like, she obviously wasn't conceived in rape, but like, that's the message being taught to women, that if you get pregnant by rape, that somehow that baby is not your child, like that God didn't, like that baby is yours no matter what. And I think that's so important for women to understand, like, it's okay to not have the man in the picture, like, I mean, but that baby's still a gift. And my daughter's proof of that, like, as someone that's raised her completely alone without a father, because he wasn't a good person, even though he wasn't a rapist. Like, actually, well, who knows?
Well, so I see a lot of these comments, and here's the thing, and people are commenting different things. I'll be honest. I mean, I have not had a lot of time to look into like the news story behind. I've been more interested in what's coming out of Charlie Kirk's death than I have been in the cause.
No, I was never raped. I don't know if someone's saying in there, but no. I was never raped, thankfully.
But I guess all I'm trying to say is, for those asking me all these questions, I don't really know, because I haven't looked into that aspect of it as much. I am more excited and more concerned about what's coming out of Charlie Kirk's death, what's coming out of his life, quite frankly, than the rest of it. because I see this great movement, this great revival. I saw the memorial service, and I am really excited about how it's changing the country, about how people are finding out about Charlie's life, a life well lived, and how that should affect us. So we're coming right up on an hour, Heather. I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you for sharing your insights
Thank
from
you for having me.
Arizona. And
no, I like this. I like conversing with you because I feel like, in a way, this is exactly what Charlie wanted us to do. He wanted people like us to have conversations and share our ideas, and everybody in the comments section sharing theirs. Like, this is the epitome of Charlie's legacy. So I just appreciate you having me on as always and keeping dialogue going.
Yeah. No, I think it's important to keep the dialogue out there. I think that's one thing that I in many ways, that's why I like Charlie Kirk's approach. And some of my audience gets frustrated with me sometimes because I don't come down crashing hard on people. I interviewed Anna Kasparian, this type of thing. I want to hear from these people, and I want to have the conversation. And I've actually found that many times I'm able to get people over to my way of thinking, to get people over to my side. But if you're not having the conversation, if they're just the enemy that you're not talking to, that doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. I mean, that's why Charlie was so into this debate forum.
Yeah.
So we need to have more conversations, not less, and quit shutting people out. You need to go to your relatives. I know, right? You're thinking, oh my gosh, well, Thanksgiving is coming up, there's and don't come off, ask them questions. People will defeat their own arguments if you ask the right questions. This is a real thing. But instead, I witnessed one time 2 family members, and they were arguing over something, and I'm watching the argument, and they were on opposites, but then they were talking about something that they were completely agreeing on, but yelling at each other about it, thinking that they didn't agree. And I'm sitting there in the background, like watching this, going, "What the heck is going on?" These people are arguing about something they're agreeing on, thinking that they're disagreeing when they're actually agreeing, just because they're so heated. It's silly. Yep. I just like, God help us all, folks. Okay, so just talk to your friends, neighbors, relatives, all this. Talk to them at Thanksgiving. Have just open dialogue. Actually, listen to them.
And I'll say this too.
Listen.
In addition to that, one thing that really stuck out to me after watching and witnessing Erica Kirk forgive in front of the entire world the man that ended her husband's life, it made me realize, like, who do I have in my heart that I have not forgiven? Because if she can forgive the man who took her husband's life, I certainly can forgive all the people that I've been harboring bitterness or resentment for because of things that have been done or said to me. And so I would just challenge everybody watching to do the same and look in your own heart, and who do you have unforgiveness for that you can process and start to forgive the way Erica did, because holding all that stuff inside is like poison for your own soul. And she's challenging me to look in my own heart and step up in the forgiveness realm, because it was so powerful. So
exactly, it was one of the most powerful moments, and we saw so much proclaimed there at that. It was so great. I just to let you know, Heather, Juanita just sent me $100 for you. So
thank you, Juanita.
Through my Cash App.
I really appreciate it, especially as this in-between job area of my life. But I'm not worried, because every time God has ever shut one door in my life, he's opened up something that took me somewhere I was supposed to be. So, and I think the timing of all of this with what happened with Charlie is God saying, like, I have a plan. I'm going to use you. And so I'm really just going to get deep into prayer over this next week and try to figure out what direction that's going to be. But I feel like after losing Charlie and after yesterday, that I'm just not the same person anymore. And I got to figure out how God wants to use me. But it's like this sign here behind me, this message from yesterday, where it says, like, here I am, Lord, send me. I feel like that's where I'm at. I just need people to pray so that I know where the Lord wants me to go. I just feel like He's about to use me for something.
Do you know, it's interesting. I got to bring this to a close, but I find the comments so interesting sometimes, and where people say, "Not my job to forgive." Here's one, pi squared. It's fine. You can say, "Not my job to forgive," whatever. I don't know where it gets you. I really don't.
I mean, the Bible does, as Christians, I don't know if that person's a Christian, but like if our job as Christians is to do what the Bible says, it does actually say that we have to forgive.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we do have to forgive, and I guess what this always boils down to is people think that their sin isn't as great as somebody else's sin, and that's why they don't have to forgive. And I'm really serious about this. Some of you gonna get pissed off at me. I don't even care. I mean, the bottom line is, we sent Jesus to the cross, and God was so humble. Think about this, so humble that He came down, lived for 9 months inside the womb of Mary, came out through a birth canal. He gave up a throne in heaven. He did all of that, then had to go through soiled diapers, all this. He's the king of the world, the creator. And then he comes down here to his very creation, and all the creation does is insults him. And on the cross, as he's hanging there, dying, beat beyond recognition, marred more than any other man. It's all in the book. It's all in the book. Okay, marred more than any other man. Gives all that up, does all that for a people who are going to do that to him. And then he hangs there on the cross and says, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." And we're sitting here hanging on to what? Oh, they didn't treat me right. Well, I wouldn't if she didn't. And, he said this and that really hurt. Oh, no. I mean, I'm sorry. I am, but when are we going to grow up and actually just, realize that life is not about us? It's not. It is about the other people, actually, and bring more people into the kingdom. It's about living Christ, which is living love.
Living Christ-like, yeah. And if I don't know where you went, Neil. You totally just disappeared on my end.
Did you see that? I just was gone. It's crazy.
Wait, I was like, am I hosting Lumberjack Logic now? Because I see the chat still moving, but Neil's gone.
I bumped the wrong button. I just disappeared. Anyway,
I was about to carry on for you, but no, I think you're so right. And Jesus, God forgives us of our sins and sent His Son Jesus to die for us because He saw our value and wanted to extend that forgiveness through His Son. So how can we then not offer that same forgiveness? If our goal is to serve Christ and be like Him, we have to forgive others, not to justify what they did. Forgiveness is a choice for us, and it gives us inner peace, and it adds value to, what Erica just did is the most powerful thing she could have done, and took every ounce of power that assassin had and eradicated it. She could have gone up there and been like, "We need to find him. We need to get revenge. We need to get this." She could have been had bitterness and anger and resentment in her heart, but that would not have been as powerful as her getting up there and choosing, I forgive you. That just was like ricocheted throughout the world. And there's power in forgiveness for you and for others around you that witness that forgiveness. And I think that's the important part to remember. You're not justifying what was done, what was said, but you're powerfully being the salt and the light and changing the world by living in a way that's going to influence those around you.
Do you know what the reality is, Heather? And this is the sad part. You don't have to justify what the other person did or said to forgive them. But you know what people constantly do? We justify ourselves. Yeah. So, on one hand, we're justifying ourselves, and yet I guess, you have to live with yourself. But we got this whole thing so backwards. I think the whole message of salvation, Jesus never gave an altar call of come forward, pray this prayer. Never happened once. You know what his message was? Pick up your cross, follow me. He said to the rich young ruler, sell it all, give it all up, follow me. It is the act of following Christ involves sacrifice. It is not we just come for blessings and provisions and a better job, and our car's not working. Our car needs to work, and Lord, can you make our car work? And this is not what this message is all about. We've totally screwed this up in the church in America. This message is just burning in me so greatly over the last month. It just keeps getting worse, and the more I read the word, the worse it gets for me. We're doing this wrong, and we need to start doing this right. And it all boils down to love. Like every single bit of this is all about loving others when it's hard. Because you know what? If you just love as the world loves, and you just love those who are nice to you, what kind of love is that?
That's a selfish love.
Yeah. What value is there in that? It's just,
and I'm guilty of that too. I am guilty of that. Like, I feel like I've felt more conviction since Charlie's passing, because in a weird way, like, I know I could live more like Christ, like Charlie was, in my friendships, my relationships with family members, things like that. And I think a lot of us, we see people like Charlie, and we support people like Charlie because we live vicariously through them as Christians. We're like, oh, I love that he lives so like Christ, but I'm just going to love him and keep doing what I'm doing. And now that Charlie's gone, I have people that aren't even Christians reaching out to me as if I'm the new Charlie. Like, the way I looked up to Charlie, they feel lost and are looking toward me. And now I feel that, like, I can't point them to Charlie and be like, here, go follow Charlie. I have to be more like Charlie, which is basically being more like Christ. I have to get more into the Bible. I have to learn, how do I apply God's teachings to my relationships, to my friendships, to my daughter as a mother. Like, there's so many things that I just felt so much conviction. Like, I've always like to say I've been a decent person and a decent Christian, but I can definitely do better, and I can live more like Charlie. And since he's passed, I feel inspired to, like, look more within and become a stronger Christian and example for others than I had been,
Here's another one for you, Heather. So Digmar says the 1,600 J6ers that were purged have their lives fully destroyed, all got fired while being in jail. They lost friends and relatives. Yes, very true. Very true. And here's the thing, Digmar. So forgiving, okay, is, and I went to J6, and I was always looking over my shoulder, wondering when I was going to get some pre-dawn FBI raid. One of my videos was utilized in a court case and so on. I mean, I could go on about this, but it doesn't, I know God is just. Okay. So I don't need to, but mercy triumphs over judgment. Okay. The other thing is, this is not, so Charlie's killer is going to see justice, both in this life and the next. And that's what's going to happen, and so, and most likely he's going to get the death penalty, because that's there in Utah and everybody wants it. So Erica forgiving him is not about him not getting justice. None of this is, I mean, so, there's, you go back to Amos, let justice roll forth like the river. I mean, they were crying out for lack of justice, because when government entities are treating people poorly, there's a need for justice. There's nothing, nobody's saying that.
Justice and forgiveness are two totally different things. We can forgive and still pursue justice.
Yes. There's justice and there's revenge, and those are two wildly different things.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
That's a hard issue. Justice is just saying we have this set of rules in place and this set of outcomes for people who break these rules. And then that just goes through. That's justice. Forgiveness is, that's just saying, man, I forgive you. And you know what? I could have done the same had I been, in the same situation. And, and I had, been subjected to the same kinds of teachings or whatever. I mean, everybody gets mad at these trainees, and I just feel bad for them, Heather. I do every day. I mean, I will never not feel bad for them. I mean, how warped that an industry takes advantage of them to make $750,000 off their surgery and drugs. Is it pathetic? It's pathetic, and they're warping these kids' minds. It just hurts to even hear it. So anyways, I was going to end this, 15 minutes ago, Heather. So anyways, I love y'all. You're a great audience. Thank you again for supporting Heather. Juanita, I will get Heather's money. See, I even let her know right here, so I can't keep it. Anyways.
And definitely, guys, go support Turning Point too. Go, if you have kids and grandkids and stuff like that, have them start chapters, join chapters. Like, I really want to see Charlie's legacy grow bigger and better than ever before.
Yeah. Amen.
So.
All right. We'll see you on the next episode, folks. Peace out. Love y'all.